Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to show you how to do authentication scaffolding in Phoenix Elixir. Actually, Phoenix is Elixir Framework. Just the same way you do the scaffolding in frameworks like Laravel and other frameworks like Django and others. Okay, so the first thing I assume that you already have Elixir installed in your computer, and you are able to just and also Phoenix, you already have that Phoenix setup. I think I did a video. I have a video on my channel where I explain from the start how you can install Elixir and also install Phoenix and also PostgreSQL, a database that is the default database for Phoenix framework. Okay, so the first thing you will do is to create a new application. So we'll do this. To do that, we'll use package manual. It's called mix. So we can do mix phx.new and then the name of the application. Okay, so use this command and then the name of the application. So mix is like composer. If I compare to PHP, just dependency manager package for Elixir. And then so the name of the project, we can maybe call it we can just call it UMS to stand for user management system. Okay, just and that is just a name that you can use any other name like a blog. I'm not using a blog because I also have an application that I call a blog in this folder. So once it starts creating those files and gets another name equal to the application, it's going to have the conflict. It's going to throw the conflict error. Okay, so once you do that, you just hit enter and it will start installing the packages. So if you want to fetch and install dependencies, just do yes, but then you can do that later if you want, but let's just install all the dependencies right now. So mix deps.get that it gets the dependencies, and then mix deps.compile, it now compile those dependencies. Okay, so that process takes some time, but then once it is done, we already have the code, but then they give you some instructions here. We are almost there. The following steps are missing, so you need to cd or to change directory into that project, because if now we do ls, we get this project has been created. So the first thing, we need to change directory into that folder. So cd like that, so we are inside that. If we print the working directory, you find that we are inside that directory. Now once you are inside that directory, the next step we need to do mix ector.create. But before that, there's one thing I need to show you. Let me just open this code inside my code editor, which is VS Code. And before you do this, you need to do database setup. So I'm just going to try and run, and you'll get an error. We'll get an error because you've not set up the database. Yeah. So let me just try and do this step here. Mix ector.create. Right, so if you run that, you're going to encounter an error. Basically, that is a way of telling Phoenix to migrate the tables, but then you have not set up the database credentials, so that is where the error comes from. So mix ector.create. You see, you get an error. Couldn't be created, right? So that is the error that you're getting. It's no longer required. Okay, but then you can see this error gen server terminating, and then it says invalid password authentication failed for the user Postgres. Okay, so that means that you have to, before you do mix actor.create, you have to set up the database, and that happens inside the config, and by default dev.elixir script exs. So inside this file is where you need to set up the username and the password. So this password is, I'm using Postgres database by default. So that is this is the username and this is the password. So the password that you did set up while you are installing the Postgres database. So mine is just this. You can enter yours. So once you've done that, you can save and do that. Just do phx mix actor.create. Yeah, you can see the database for us it has been created. So it has created the database. Okay, here this the credentials in it created the database. This is the database name. So once it has created this database, the database, that database here, we can run. We can, if you want to view that, application, you can do mix phx.server. So basically, that will be running the server. And you can see here, access this application, and the endpoint is this. So the endpoint by default for Phoenix applications runs on localhost port 4000. So we'll open a new tab on your browser and visit localhost port 4000. And there we have our application. You can see this is how the default Phoenix 1.6 application looks like. So this is the home page. You can see, you have that. We have a link to documentation, a live dashboard, the application live dashboard, and other details there. So, but then we are missing register and login button. So that is what you want to create. So if you go to the documentation, you have this section where it is talking about authentication. And when you click on the getting started, there's this command mix phx.gen. Now I want just to take you through this. So you can see mix phx.gen.auth. So it generates the authentication. But then you have to specify various parameters. So we have what we call context. So in Phoenix, it's not like Laravel where you are open to. In Phoenix, we have what we call contexts. So that is like grouping of your application functionality. So for example, you have accounting. If you have a blog, we may have a blog post section. We might be having a group of items. You can call them catalogs. So the context has related functionalities where instead of writing these functionalities in our controller, we'll be calling these functionalities from the context. So we have the context, which is like the central place of interacting with the model. And then now we have the controller, where we call the methods or functions. In this case, actually, are functions, because Elixir is a functional language. So we are going to call functions that will be created inside the context. And then, so the first thing is the context. And then the next thing is the model and the table name. Okay, so that is basically what you do. So like users belong to account things. It is just like an account department, or you can call context, or can the context is like you can look at them like as the way you look at sections or departments. All right. So you have like if you have like a department like blog, If it is a system, we might be having a blog section. So a blog section, that is where we'll put the post functionality, the post creation, the post deletion and stuff like that. So those are what we call contexts. And then you have them, the models, you know them, okay, or repos. So let's do this. Let's run that command. So I'll open another terminal inside the application and then run mix phx .gen.auth, and then I'll call accounts, that will be the context, the model name user and the table name users, and just hit enter. Yeah, now it has already set up everything that is required, but then I need to get if we open, let me show you something. If we open mix.ex, that is equivalent to composer.json or package.json. Basically, this is where the dependency information, the dependencies that have been installed in this application information are stored. So if we scroll down, we should be having okay, it has been set for installation. So let's just run that command that they told us, this command mix.deps.get to install the dependencies that are related to the authentication. So let's just do that. Mix deps.get mix deps.get. So that command might take some time, but once it is done, you'll be able to access the authentication. So once it is done, that you are not yet done, we need to do something else. We need to migrate. You can see here, we need to migrate the tables that are related to authentication that have been created. So you do mix ector.migrate, and as that continues, look at this application. This is the default, but then once we are done, we will reload it and you'll see that we have files that were not there. So it is compiling, that is why you are getting that error. But once it is done, you'll be able to get login and register buttons there. And there you go. So once that is done, we can come back and refresh, and there you go. Now you see we have now the register button, and once you click on that, you have the register page, and you have the login page here, and we have also the error checking has already been set, so we can try to do that. And you see we are getting an error there. Let's try to register here. So we'll try to register, example @gmail.com. Then here password will be password, and let's try to click on register and see. And you can see we have the validation set. Oops, something went wrong. Please check the errors below. And the error says that the password should be at least 12 characters. Okay, so let's put there 12 characters password. So password pass, and then we hit on register button. So we are getting an error here that says function pbkdf, this one is undefined module, it's not available. So if it is not available, then you can look at a way of installing it. Maybe it was not installed during the installation process. So actually the problem was that when we installed, once the sub was running, but so it had not taken those changes into it did not updated those changes that you had done. So if you get that error again, what you need to do is to just restart the server. So close the server and restart it. So you just force it by doing Control-C and running mix phx.server again. And once you've done that, the server will be up and running, and you can see we have a user registered. And if we go to, once the user is registered and is logged in, you have the logout button here. We have settings. The user can change the password, and they can change the email, and they can change the password. So you have the email and then the current password. To change the email, you have the new password, and you have to confirm the password and to enter the current password for it to be able to change. And you can log out and try to log in. So I have logged out, so I'll try to log in again. So here I'll just enter the email example@gmail.com, and the password is password pass, and try to log in, and you can see it works perfectly well. So that's it. That is how you implement authentication in Elixir. And now if you come back to look at the files, you'll find that, let me just show you the files that have been created. First, let's look at accounts context. Accounts, this one, accounts.elx. So you can see this is the context I was talking about, and then you find out that we have the functionalities have been grouped, like get user by email and password, get user, that just gets to user given ID, and then register user, okay, change the password, change user email. So basically what happens here is that the functionalities are not written in the controller. In the controller, we don't have a lot of code. Basically, the controller is the place where this is where you just call these functionalities. So you have the context, but that's you call them. You call the method when you want to use them. Okay, and then inside the accounts, we have some other. You have the user notifier, and user. Okay, those functionality you can see here. We have the schema, and then the schema definitions. We have the change registration, change set, validate email, and then validate password, and also this functionality. This is like a user model. So the user model has various functionalities that you can write on that, and those functionalities will be calling them inside the context. Okay, inside the context you can see user dot email change set, user dot. So basically they are calling the user, what we call report, but then in other you can call them the model. So yeah, they're basically calling the model. And then now if we go to the controllers, which are inside this one dot web, so ums_web inside controllers. Let's just look at user registration controller, this one, and you can see we have this first function called new, and you can see it imports the context, and it also imports the model. And once it has imported, now you can see it calls those functions that are inside that context. So for example, accounts.change user registration. So for example, accounts.change user registration. So this change user registration function is inside accounts. So if we go to here and we search for For that function, change user password. You have change user password. You have change user registration. You can see this method. It takes the user details there, and then it calls the model. Okay, so basically that is it. That is how to implement authentication system in Phoenix. It has many files, but then it is more elaborate as compared to Laravel, in my own opinion. So thank you so much. Subscribe to my channel, and in case you have any questions or anything, you can leave a comment down below.